Good afternoon. Hi. We're here at Washington and Lee and at the University of Minnesota presenting to FLAVA with the Washington and Lee Tucker Media Center webinars that we do for FLAVA. And so first I'll introduce myself. I'm Catherine Murphy-Judy, past president of FLAVA. Dick Kuttner should be back here in a minute. He's the current president of FLAVA. And now if you'd like to introduce yourselves, Marlene and Dan.
Hi, we're Dan and Marlene here at University of Minnesota. I'm the director of the Language Center for the College of Liberal Arts at the University of Minnesota.
And I'm Marlene Johnsoy. I work here at Carla. We're actually in my office. Carla is the Center for Advanced Research on Language Acquisition. Some of you may know that name. And so we're beaming into you from not very sunny Minnesota that's going to get a little bit of snow tonight. So hopefully you're in warmer places than we are.
It's a little bit warmer, but we're supposed to get snow in 2 days. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got snow coming too, but it's not going to be anything like what you get. I remember well. I think we can go ahead and put the wiki up. What we're going to be presenting on today is the interpretive mode, and you should be seeing on your screen now this Carla technology. It was used at the Summer Institute, and maybe Marlene and Dan, you'd like to talk to us a little bit about the wiki since it's yours.
Sure. This does come from one of the Carla Summer Institutes. Carla does week-long institutes in the summer on a variety of topics, one of which is technology, using technology for language teaching and learning. And we do 3 days, one each on interpretive, presentational, and interpersonal, amongst other things. And so this comes from some of that content from our Summer Institute. And this wiki is open forever and ever, as long as it hangs around. We hang around, I don't know. And so you are welcome to come back to this page anytime you like. We're not going to get through all of this content today. We usually do it in a day. So in 2 hours, we'll get through parts of it, and then you can come back later and look at more.
Alrighty, and you'll notice that on the wiki under the date, which is March 17th, so happy St. Patrick's Day to one and all, there's a note that you may want to print out the highlighted handouts ahead of time. Here at Washington and Lee, we've got them sitting out on the tables, and elsewhere around the state, y'all might have them already printed out. If not, if you've got a computer in front of you, you can link to them through those highlighted handouts. So, we've already introduced ourselves. Okay. We've introduced ourselves, and I think now we're going to actually start to talk about what is the interpretive mode. And so, Dalton, if I can get you, I guess I just go into it, right? Alrighty. So I'm going to go into the presentational mode of Google Slides. And so our opening question is, we're going to work on the interpretive mode. What is it? And I thought that it would be kind of fun for us to start with something that's interactive to prime the interpretive mode pump. So if you've got a computer in front of you, or if you've got your cell phone or a tablet, cell phone or tablet, you'd need to have the Socrative app downloaded, but you can do that really quickly. Otherwise, on a computer, just go to socrative.com and click the student login, and I'll actually do that with you so you can see what that looks like. So if you're doing that, you just go to let's make sure that I spell this right, because, okay, Socrative.com, and you go on in, and you guys are going to go into the student mode. And when you do the student mode, just go ahead and give your name, any kind of name that you want, and then you're in. All right. And this should already be letting you do this because I've already started this. Hang on just a sec.
the student instead of the teacher?
Yeah,
The student, yes.
okay. Maybe I did this wrong, because you're supposed to have a classroom that you go into. And that should be KMJ quiz. And I don't see why that's not flashing up. So let me try one more time, and if it doesn't work, we'll just move on. And student account. Oh, there's the room name. Okay, KMJ quiz, QUIZ. That'll get us in. Now you enter your name. There we go. And so go ahead, answer these questions. Which of these are part of the interpretive mode according to Strum and Gleason? And don't worry that you don't know. What we're doing is priming the pump now, getting you to take a look at what it is that we're going to be going through. So just take a look at those. Is it, let me see, I'm having a hard time seeing these days. Going beyond comprehension to inferential connections? Is it no means of clarification or negotiation of meaning with the creator of the message? Is it understanding and interpretation of oral, written, and multimedia texts? Is it listening, reading, and viewing skills? Is it negotiating meaning among individuals in real time? It can be one or some or all of those. Go ahead and just click what you think it is.
What is the network name? Can you say please?
KMJ quiz, QUIZ.
Oh, quiz.
Yeah. If you go back there, it's KMJ quiz. That's what it is.
No.
Still no?
KMJ quiz.
Uh-huh.
Quiz. Double search.
QUIZ up on the screen, right there.
Oh, quiz.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry.
Is that showing up now?
Yes.
Okay, good. 'Cause we're having problems here where we're face to face. There might be more problems in the distance realm. All right. So let's just say that you go and you choose a few of these, whichever ones you think may be right, and go ahead, and you'll actually get your correct answers back with a little explanation on it. But, all right, so everybody kind of finished up on the quiz. Let's not take too much time there. And we go back in the presentational mode. So now that we've primed the pump, we can go ahead and start to ask, well, what is the interpretive mode? Anybody got any ideas? And if there's anybody from one of the other satellites, Dalton, is there a way for us to see if somebody raises their hand?
Yeah, but we have to exit this.
We'd have to exit this. Okay, well then I'll ask the people who are here if anybody has any ideas of what the interpretive mode is. Just kind of off the cuff. No right or wrong answers. What does it mean to you when your students are doing something interpretive in the classroom or with the language that you're teaching them? What do they interpret? How?
I've read this with Professor Patno, but I can't remember exactly what it means. So I think
Could it be that they're trying to make meaning without having all the tools?
Right, right. So let's go ahead. We'll just take a look at some of these. And it's trying to understand, like you were saying, to interpret oral, written, or multimedia texts. And that's important for us to recognize. We're not talking just about written texts. We're not talking about books and articles, just that. But we're also talking about texts that might be listening clips or multimedia, where they have the audio and video. And in some instances, they may even have something in Second Life or a virtual world that they're working on. All right, what else? It's those listening, reading, and or viewing skills. That's all a part of the interpretive mode. And it's also, there is no means of clarification or negotiation of meaning with the person who actually created the message. For the most part, whoever wrote that text or whoever made the audio clip or made the film or the video clip, they're not there. so the person can't exchange with them and say, I don't quite get what you meant by that. There's no immediate exchange of negotiation of meaning. There might be with a professor, like with us, with the teacher or the professor, but there isn't with the person who actually created it. I mean, think especially of a written text by someone who's no longer there. Well, there's no way you can ask them questions about, well, what did you really mean? And that's an important part about the interpretive mode. And the other thing is, and Shrum and Gleason, who have been my Bible for many years now, and this is from the fourth edition, not the fifth, so I'm sorry I didn't have that to quote from. But interpretive mode goes beyond comprehension to inferential connections. It's not only are they decoding the words that are there, but they're trying to infer the meaning and connect it to other things that they already know. So that's the interpretive mode. Now, what are you all teaching? Are you teaching upper level students? Are you teaching students who are way up in the advanced? Now, who are you teaching? The lower level students, yeah. So most of us are teaching students who are at the novice level. And we have to remember, because we're working with our students already at the novice level in the language, that they're having to recognize and decode these skills in a different language. All right? And they're limited in their ability to do that. They are also limited in the very skills and strategies that they have as language learners. They're not very good at being language learners yet. That's something that they're going to grow into, hopefully, as we're teaching them the language that we're teaching them, so that maybe when they go into a second and a third language, they're going to be far better at it. But usually, most of the ones that we have, they're not so good at learning a language yet. And we also have to remember that our learners, these young people out there that we're working with, they're limited in their skills and habits as autonomous learners. They don't sit there and say, oh, I don't know what that means, so I'm going to go look more deeply. They're like, I don't know what it means, and they frustrate and they give up and they just shut the book and walk away and they say, I'll wait till class. So students also are not very autonomous yet. Hopefully, over time, they'll learn to become more autonomous learners, getting ready for lifelong learning so that they can do this for the rest of their lives. And one other thing I wanted to bring up about our students and where they're limited is they may lack interpretive skills, especially in reading, in their native language. A lot of our students, a lot of them don't read very well in whatever language it is that they come in with, their native language, their mother tongue. They're not so good at reading there. Just kind of some things that we need to keep in mind as educators, and we're talking about the interpretive mode, especially when we're dealing with our students who are at the novice level. Now, that was when we're in a synchronous situation in a face-to-face classroom, but what happens when we're trying to engage them in reading and interpretive activities online? So we're not there. The author isn't there to help them interpret. We're not there to help them interpret. We have to recognize that if we're, for example, trying to flip our classrooms and we want to give them some work to do in the interpretive mode, that it's going to be that part of before they walk into our flipped classroom and actually interact with us face to face, that part that's online, the learners are already engaged in interpretive activities because they're trying to interpret what the heck is going on as they're viewing, listening, or working on whatever this task is that we've given them to do at home or with their books and maybe on their computers. Just a few things for us to keep in mind. And one other thing to keep on mind, we all know about Bloom's taxonomy of learning. A lot of times when we're working in the novice level, we think that we're supposedly mainly working on this remembering and understanding. But what we've learned through neuroscience, what we've learned in second language acquisition studies and research, is that it's actually when we get into these upper levels, the yellow apply, the green analyze, and on up into the create, this is where the learning actually, well, there's learning that happens down at the bottom, but at the four upper ones, apply, analyze, and so on up to create, this is where the learning sticks. Just want to bring that to you, and that's something that Shrum and Gleason bring to our attention as we're working in the interpretive mode. So we're going to go back again into the little test that we took there. And I need to get out of this. And I'm going to... All right, so the first time that you took the quiz, you can see how you did. And I'm going to go ahead and finish it, and we're going to take the quiz again and see how you do. And I'm going to send myself these reports. I think I'll put it in the dashboard. I'll do it that way. And let's see, I'm going to exit, and I'm going to start the quiz all over again. So you guys can take the quiz all over again. And let's see how you do this time. And actually, your names are not supposed to be showing up. I had set that your names wouldn't show up, but don't be embarrassed, okay? But if you were doing this with your students in an actual class, you could make sure that... What does it say? I can't see. Oh, okay, there. We'll take the names off. There, now we don't see. Thank you. So you can turn the names off in your class. And look at how much better you guys are doing this time. Gosh, I love it. I love it. So all to say, the interpretive mode, if you prime the pump, give them something kind of fun to do, get people thinking about what it is that they're going to be learning about, and then actually go through and do some of the learning, and then come again and give a post quiz. Kind of a fun thing to do. All right, I'm going to let you finish that up, and I'm going to get back into presenting mode, if I can do that here. I can't get my mouse there. Okay, good. All right, so now we're going to go back over to Dan and Carla, and later on we'll take a look at your results on the second one.
Thanks, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Let's see now. We want to go to share the screen, right?
Right. We're fighting mice.
We're fighting mice. Share a document?
No, share screen.
Share screen.
And then pick the window. There you go.
All right. So this is the wiki that we've been working with, and Catherine's done a great job of talking about what a text is. So we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about that. We're going to go right in, jump right in, and watch a video. And the way this is going to work, because we're so dependent on the internet for now. What I'm going to have you do is in your pods, or if you're in this individually, have you watch it by yourself rather than play this together. So if you would click the link, basically we have a link to the wiki in the chat room, but
right click.
well, that's the video. Sure. So we'll paste that in there. And that's a click right to the video. So we're going to have you click there and play the video. And this is...
How many minutes long is it?
Where'd it go? Where'd it go? There it is. Okay, if you would play that video, we will call you back together again when it's done.
Okay, so why don't we just have one of us do that here? And we might have to turn our sound off or everybody will hear us.
Okay, so just press the mute button on the speaker.
Right here?
when you're done, when you're done watching it, I have some questions for you.
Many people are having difficulties. Where do you want to go? Hold up the chat. This is what I mean when you're in screen share mode. There's a number of different It's pretty fun for dueling mice. Wiki.
Okay, that's enough. Going to ask you first question. What language was this in?
Das ist Deutsch.
Deutsch, yeah.
German.
Very nice. Okay, you're right. It's in German, and someone mentioned that it's in Austrian German, and that's correct as well. That's terrific. How for those of you who don't know German, how long do you think this video was? All right, we have a number of votes for 45 seconds and up to 2 minutes. Some not even a minute. Yeah, I mean, if you paid attention, you could see at the bottom it is exactly 45 seconds long. But the issue is in this case, particularly for those that haven't listened to a language or don't know the language, when you play a video of this length, it almost seems interminable because it's not something you necessarily understand or get a lot out of. But again, for those of you who don't know German, those of you who do probably got a lot more out of this than those who don't. But where is this taking place? Where's this video taking place? Okay, we have votes for bookstore or library. What's an indicator of where this is? Why do you say bookstore or library? All the books. Okay, so we have some visual reinforcement. Thank you. That's good enough. That's good enough. What's he saying? What's he talking about? Okay, so he's talking about books. That's great. Okay, terrific. Some picked up on the fact he uses the word literatur, so that's a cognate. That's good. You're using all kinds of wonderful strategies to understand this. Put yourself in the position of a first-year student listening to this who's just trying to learn German. What do you think of the activity I just created for you? And be honest. You can be brutal if you like. Too long, too hard. Scary. Overwhelming. Too advanced for beginner. Nearly impossible. Okay, without in-class guidance. Very often, that's good enough, thanks. This is terrific. This is great feedback. Maybe I need to go back to the drawing board and come up with a better activity to do with this. Actually, that's kind of the point. We wanted to kind of show you how sort of not to do things. First of all, I didn't even tell you at the beginning what language this was going to be in. I gave you no indicator of what this was about. I gave you no sense of what you need to be listening for. I plunged you right into this video and expected you to understand it. And that's a temptation, I think, that we often fall victim to. And what I would rather do is actually provide you with some activities to actually engage with this video. And what I've done here is provided a video worksheet that's okay. Now this won't show up because we're just showing the
Right.
browser,
You need
right?
to switch windows.
Okay, you go ahead and do that while I'm talking.
Right.
So there is a video worksheet that we.
I'm trying to get Dalton to pull up the worksheet. Yeah, because isn't that what you want him to do?
The down.
Where it's down.
No.
No. On the wiki.
Okay. Go down.
Down to there, where the first yellow video worksheet. Video worksheet yellow.
So basically, this is a text for interpretation, and what we think is very important is that there be a process similar to what Catherine did before she presented information. She kind of quizzed you, gave you something to listen for, and then sort of quizzed you again at the end. What's really important when dealing with interpretive texts is to have at least this three-stage process: the pre-reading, activities to do before you really engage with the text, something to do while you are engaging with the text, and then something to do after you've engaged with the text. So if we look at this worksheet, the first thing that we do is to say, in a kind of a previewing activity, just look at a still from this video and think and indicate where you think that interview takes place. What three things do you see in the video that support your impression? Some of you actually already did a great job of talking about the visuals in this without necessarily paying attention to the content of what he's talking about. And that's great. Bookstore, library, books are an indication of this. As far as background information, just looking again at a visual, it is a bookstore. And now that I've told you that, what's different or unusual from your own experience? So drawing them into this, what kind of things can you pick up from looking at at a still of this video? Is that what you have here?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a part of an interview with the owner of the store, the question that he's responding to is what makes a good bookstore? And he's going to focus on topics that he carries or that he concentrates on. So what do you think he's going to say? So the question then is just kind of activating what it is you make a choice already. Think about what you think he's going to say, and then determine whether or not he says that, or he talks to that topic. So
that also might be a good way of bringing up some vocabulary that might be used beforehand as well.
Right.
Right.
So I'm not going to go through this with you. I'm just kind of walking through the sheet here to provide an example of how you might deal with with video material like this. And then it's really important to give them something to do when they're looking at the video. And you can see here I've got 5 tasks to do. And the idea here is to actually go through this text more than once. So the first time you look at it without sound. What kinds of things, what kind of gestures is he making? Do those gestures indicate anything? Is there a change in attitude? If you look particularly at his hand positions, there's a point where he's going like this, and then there's a point where he's going like this. What's he talking about when he's doing those? Or where at what points in the video does he do that? And then hear it once and just pick up on what it is you do here. And you already did it. Some of you did this already at the very beginning. You picked up on the word literatur, for example. Anything that comes to mind out of the stream, anything that comes to you. And then then we kind of drill in a little bit more. There's the word keine. What words does this word precede? And then how does that correspond with the gestures that he's making? And if you look at this again, we're not going to run through it because we don't have much time, but you have access to this afterwards. As he's going like this is where he's talking about, this is where he's using the word keine. So is that a positive or a negative sort of thing? And then as you combine them with the words that he's using, for example, he says, keine Sportbücher, keine Nazi-Literatur, and so on. And then we listen to it again just for specific sorts of information and what kinds of topics does he cover and what kinds of topics does he not cover. So that you kind of walk them through this process, and that's what they do while they're engaging with the text. Finally, when you're done, when you've gone through this, now take a stand on it. This is kind of sort of, this is that interpretive part of things. Take a stand on it. What are you interested in? And based on what you're interested in, would this be a bookstore that might interest you? He says at the end, the topics that I cover are the things that make life beautiful. And just to give you a kind of a hint, he's talking about food, travel, cooking. Those are the things that he says makes life beautiful. Do you agree? Take a stand on this. Is this something that you think makes life beautiful? And then finally, would you like to shop here? Why or why not? Again, the idea being here you've got this structure that you can use to apply to virtually any sort of interpretive text. And hopefully, even if we were to go through this, you would see that even if you don't know a lot of German, you might be able to get something out of this after we've listened to it 3-4 times and kind of walked you through the process, listening for something specific each time you go through it.
So just to kind of summarize then, with this worksheet idea, there were previewing activities that you did while you were watching, which you had ahead of time so you knew what to watch for, and then post-viewing, things that take you a little bit of a step further. And one of the things that I was going to mention a little bit further on, but I'll mention it now again, many times these activities are not just one mode. So we're talking about interpretive, but the post-viewing in particular, the viewing focuses on the interpretive, but the post-viewing can take you a step further and many times will change modes. So in this case, it could go into a presentational.
Yes. Thanks. We'll send it back to Catherine now then.
All right. Let's see if I can get us out of here.
Thank you so much. So we're going to try to get back over here to my PowerPoint.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah. And then now I can do
I'm not
that.
sharing it. We need to start sharing. I haven't shared yet.
Oh, okay. Start sharing it then, please. Hang on just a sec. We're doing some sharing here because sharing is good. All right, now I can hit present.
Sharing is caring.
All right. So thank you so much, Dan and Marlene. So anyway, now we're going to talk about what are some good teaching strategies for the interpretive mode whilst reading a written text. And I think Dan and Marlene just showed us a video text, but what do you think? Anybody have any ideas about if you're doing a written text, what kind of strategies do you use? Think about it if you're doing it synchronously. Think about it too if you're doing it asynchronously, where the students aren't with you in a classroom face to face. Any ideas? Anybody want to kind of put that in the little idea box? Do we have the idea box there?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody giving me some stuff? Is anybody reading or writing something? I can't read it, so if you could tell me.
Multiple attendees are typing.
Okay. Okay. With synchronous reading, when we're reading and the students are right there with us, as always, you have to give clear, simple, consistent instructions, just like we saw Dan doing with the video. Prepare the pre-reading activities, just like Dan was telling us. And you can do lots of different things. You can make them more interactive kinds of group work. With a synchronous group, you can have kids drawing on a smart board. You can have them doing pair work. And then when they're actually reading, when they're doing the reading part, you can have them read together. This is something I just was so astounded when a colleague of mine reminded me that reading does not have to be a solitary activity. And in fact, as we grow up, our moms and dads read to us, and then we kind of get out of the thing of reading with each other, and we become these isolated singlets who read all by ourselves. But reading together is a really strong way to build reading practices. So put the kids together, put the young people together to read together at the same time as either in a class or reading together in groups or pairs. You can do things like relating the pronunciation to the writing system, have them read out loud. Although I just read an article that said that sometimes that's not the greatest strategy because it makes a lot of the students very intimidated because they know they don't decode into the pronunciation very well. So you might choose some of the students who are a little bit stronger to hear them, especially if you have some native speakers or heritage speakers, so that they're getting a really good connection between the sound system and the written system. You can also focus on form. You can let the stronger learners help the learners who are struggling a little bit to show how, as a strong reader, they construct meaning. So again, if you have them working together in a pair, they can say, oh, well, this is how I know what that means, because this goes here and that goes there, and that's how I understand it. So making their thinking and their reading visible to another learner, another student, is just really a strong practice. And then, of course, again, engaging them in post-reading comprehension, tasks that go towards inferential thinking, that go, as we were talking about Bloom's taxonomy, get them way up in that higher points of the taxonomy. And in asynchronous reading, again, this is reading squared. It's reading 2 times separated from the ability to do any negotiating of what the instructions are and so on. So the instructions have to be really, really clear. And again, keep in mind, if you do the instructions in asynchronous, so the students are doing this, reading it at home by themselves, they're not in a classroom situation, remember that if you've given them the instruction in target language, they're most likely not able to read that very well. So they're having to decode just your instructions. But even if you give the instructions in target language, they may not be very proficient in the native language. They may not be very proficient readers in their native language. And so your instructions are really hard. If there's any way that you can do something that's a screencast or some kind of video thing that gives them the instructions, they'll pick up what they're supposed to do a lot better. Lots of images, Make it simple, make it clear, make it consistent. Again, prepare the readings with pre-readings. Also give the readings, especially in asynchronous reading, when you're not there to help mitigate whatever problems your learners are having right in a classroom setting. Make sure you're giving them differentiated scaffoldings. So a student who may need pictures, they've got those. A student who's a really strong audio learner, they've got the audio. Give them in various ways the kind of scaffolding that they need, and also make it bite-size, because they can't eat it all at once. They need smaller portions, especially at the lower proficiencies, and especially at the novice levels of proficiency. And again, engage them in post-reading activities and comprehension. Interpretive mode for listening, it's the same. I'm not going to go through this because actually I think if we get into some of the apps that we've got that the people at Carla are going to be showing you, you'll be able to see this operating. But same sequence, pre-listening, listening, post-listening. If you've got audio-only texts, please keep in mind that there are losses of channels of meaning. They're not seeing the gestures. They're not smelling. They're not picking up on the wealth of information that's there when it's face-to-face. And they also, in the audio-only, remind them that they can back the audio up and listen again and again and again, because sometimes they'll forget that they can do that, and they'll just say, "Oh, it's too fast. Oh, I just couldn't understand any of it, so I gave up." Right? And you can add in compensatory channels like subtitling. You can add in images. Using an app like SoundCloud, you can actually annotate the audio so that they can see at the different points, things that would help them with understanding. And again, especially online, help the learners learn appropriate chunking mechanisms for the target language. If they try to listen to a whole string of the language, they're not going to understand it. But like Dan showed us with his questions on the book seller, if they were looking and listening for specific things, they could hear it. If they were listening for Literatur, they could hear it. If they were listening for Sportbücher, I'm sorry about my pronunciation, or Geschichte, then they've at least started to do some chunking. Really important there. Same thing with video. I'm not going to belabor this, just to say, however, that when you're doing things to help your learners with video, you can use something. If you did not get to see the IML presentation last month by Michael Bush at Brigham Young University, please get a hold of me or Marlene or actually Michael Bush at Brigham Young University, because IML is just an amazing video capturing, annotation, everything machine, and it's free and it's open for all of us. So really, really important. And then another thing, keep in mind that our learners are not used to the culture. So even though they've got a video, even though they're hearing the language and seeing the visuals, they may be having miscues and misunderstandings. There was a PICS video that showed a young woman having her purse stolen, and some of the students who were watching that were saying it was her fault because she had left her purse somewhere, where if you do that in their culture, people take it because you just watch your stuff. It's a different cultural relationship. So think about the different cultural things that they'll be seeing in the video, help prepare them for that, or bring their attention back to it with post-viewing. I wanted to talk real quickly about something that I use for the interpretive mode, and it's a social interpretive mode. I use something called Diigo, DIIGO.com, and I'm going to kind of jump through this. So there's a Diigo help site. I'm certainly not going to run through this, but you all should have access to this Google Slides. And so you can just, go and listen to this yourself. But what is so wonderful about Diigo is that it lets you do crowdsourced reading together. So you can give your students something to read, and they can go in and annotate it together. Excuse me, I gotta get out of here, and then I can show you where this is, I think, I hope. All right. And hopefully this is going to let me into one of my DIGOs. So I had students of mine working with Jacques Le Fataliste, and we were able to annotate this together. So I would put in notes, they would put in notes. If they were having problems with something, they could highlight it and give me a little note that said they didn't understand. But this is all in an online fashion, and it's social, so it can be done together as a class. So I really, really highly, highly suggest looking at something like DIGO. And if we get back to my PowerPoint, we will find that there are a couple of other ones that are just as powerful or close to as powerful as DIGO. So you can find collaborative reading and decoding facilities and apps online. And that one of the cool things about DIGO is they can also take the work that they've done on DIGO and pop it into an outline. And, you know, I know we're talking about interpretive here, but for presentational modes, it will take all the work that they've done and put it into an outline that they can then write their papers off of. It's just super powerful, so I hope you all will take a look at DIGO. One other thing about interpretive mode, we know that one of the high leverage teaching practices is making thinking visible. And as I already noted, if you put students together and the student who's a stronger reader explains to the weaker reader how they do their decoding of a written text or whichever text they're looking at, it helps the weaker student because they're getting those strategies for decoding that otherwise they wouldn't. You can use something like a LiveScribe pen to do the same thing. It's simply a pen where you can do an audio, but there are also lots of different ways of being able to do audio connected to different passages in a text. For example, with MIT's Nota Bene, with Snagit, and I just located Snagit a couple of months ago, and that allows you to have a browser open with the Snagit extension on Chrome as your Chrome browser. I think they also have it for Safari and Netscape now. No, Firefox. And you can grab whatever is on screen. Say you had some website and you wanted your students to read that website. You could do an audio annotation of that for them. It's just powerful beyond belief. You can do the same thing with Explain Everything, Evernote, and Google Docs also has a chat feature called Kaizena. It's one of the add-on tools, and that also allows you to add audio onto a written text. So you can get more channels of information from that. I'm not going to go into the listening because I think I'm kind of past my time anyway, because I know that Marlene and Dan are going to do a lot more on that. Just giving you some more sources for video interpretive mode. Again, I mentioned the BYU, Brigham Young University's IML. Videotech up in Canada, and each one of these are links so that you can get to them. Videotech in Canada has French, definitely, and I believe they now have Spanish. Of course, YouTube has got the possibility of doing subtitling, and videonote.es, which is from Spain. Video Notes, again, allows you to do video annotation. And don't forget, if you like TED Talks, that TED Talks can be done in lots of different languages. So don't forget TED Talks because the students love them. So, I tell you what, I think I've taken too much time. So why don't we just go ahead and not do this quiz, because you've seen the quiz. And let's get back over to Marlene. Sorry about that, Marlene. I didn't see my spelling mistake. Okay, and I'll fix that, Marlene.
Unmute and see if we get our screen sharing back here. In the meantime, for those of you who are on the wiki page yourselves, the thing coming up is going to be that evaluation grid handout that you should either have digitally or if you can print it quick on paper. That's what we're going to be working with for the next good chunk of time, that evaluation grid. If you want to, although I think I'm just going to talk through it, there is also a handout for the audio jigsaw activity, which is the next thing coming up. You don't really need to do that one. I think for lack of time, I'm probably just going to walk through that one and show you what we would do with that particular activity. Wait, you just stopped sharing.
I know, we have to go to Word, right?
Not yet.
Okay.
Wiki first. You could just share the desktop.
Yeah. Here we are.
We're having dueling mice. We've got two mice hooked up to the same machine, which is quite interesting. Lucky I can use mine left-handed. All right. What I'd like to do first as a whole group is show you this audio jigsaw activity that a colleague of ours, Alyssa, put together for her ESL class. If we were doing this actually as an activity, and I should maybe back up a second and explain that I have kind of a cycle of learning when I do technology workshops. I like to start out with having people experience things as students. And that's what you'll be doing in this next section after I do this first example, is actually going through and experiencing some of these activities as your students would do it. Because I think it's really important for you to see the possibilities of things, see examples of how people have put them together, then actually experience what a particular application can do. It's, to find out, push it a little bit and find out what it can do. And then once you've gone through them as a student and experienced them, then we'll take you into, assuming we have time, but you can come back and do this, where you can actually create them on your own. And so this next section, the testing and evaluate section, is where you're actually going to be experiencing some activities. So just to get into this, I'd like to talk through this audio jigsaw activity. I'm going to pull it up here. And her activity starts out with a little PowerPoint presentation. And I'm going to pull that up, assuming that we can still see that because it's on the web. Yes? Double checking here what you're seeing. Good. Okay. Can I make this any bigger?
You can do this.
No, I can go full screen. All right. So this is her PowerPoint, and she starts out, the topic is an informational interview, and this is her setup. This is her schema checking, whatever we call that, pre-viewing, or in this case, pre-listening activity. So she wants the students to think about and discuss a little bit, what's the purpose of an information interview? Have you ever heard of this before? Have you ever participated in one? What was it like? And what are your tips for success when you're conducting one? So they think about that a little bit before they actually get into listening. And where do I go ahead? Here we are, finding my buttons. And here's another question. What do coffee and information activities, interviews, slow down. What do coffee and information interviews have in common? So another thing to think about before they listen. Don't move my mouse.
Oh, sorry.
And so now she gets to the point where she wants you to listen to an introduction of how to use informational interviews. And what this is a little beginning section of an interview that she found on NPR, Minnesota Public Radio. I'm not going to play it because I think as we're going through Adobe Connect, those of you out there won't hear it anyway, so I'm going to skip over that for right now, but it's just a little introduction about the topic. And then what she does is split her class up into 5 groups. Now this one happens in class, face to face. They're all in a computer lab. And so each group A listens to their section. If you're a B, you listen to the second one, etc. And so they're divided up into groups of 5, each one listening to a different thing. And again, for reasons of time, I'm not going to have you actually do this. But if you were to listen to these sections, these are all sections of that same audio clip from this podcast, just different sections of it. And as they're listening, what she wants them to listen for are problems that the speaker mentions about doing information interviews, and then 3 insights, tips, or strategies for when you are doing an information interview. And so each group would go through, make notes about what they heard, and then in a typical jigsaw, if you're familiar with the jigsaw, they would mix up. So group A, one group would have an A, B, C, D, and E in it, and they would teach each other then about what they heard from their different sections. Did I say that so that makes sense? Good. All right, so there's an example. She goes into, on her wiki page, well, I'm going to go back this way first. She explains how she created this, choosing and downloading an audio clip, and she used Audacity to chop it up into those little bits, and then she had to put them up online. We have something here at the university called Net Files where we can do that, but there are some other things. SoundCloud is one that Catherine mentioned before, Clear's Viewpoint, or on a Google Drive if you've got that, so that you can actually have them linked online for students to listen to in their different groups. Okay, so that's just a quick overview of what she did with that activity. And now what I'd like you to do is pull up that Word document, the evaluation grid. And I'm going to see if I can find it here so I can pull it up for us as well. There we go.
You got to stop sharing and reshare.
Stop sharing and reshare with my Word doc. There we go. Yep, that looks like you're all seeing that now. All right, so as we go through the next activities, the next section of activities, you're going to be doing them on your own. Hopefully enough of you brought laptops, or you're in a place where there are some desktops that you can work individually or work in pairs or trios, whatever you need to do. But this we will not be doing as a large group after we go through how to use the grid. So for example, just to give you an idea of what we're talking about with the different columns that we have here, some are pretty obvious, but Dan, can you pull up the chat window for me again? So for example, the audio jigsaw example that we just did with the information interview, the first column says, well, what media is it? Well, with the title right there, that's kind of obvious, yeah? Do you want to type for me?
Me?
Sure.
Where do you want me to type? Over there?
Right there. So the media that we're talking about in this case is audio. What proficiency level would you say this particular activity is geared towards? You can type in the chat if you've got a quick thought. Dan says advanced. You didn't even look at the chat box.
Oh, you want me to put it in the chat box?
No, they were going to tell you in the chat box.
All.
All levels? Intermediate? Now these are ESL students, and they're here at the University of Minnesota, all with a clarification. Depends on what you ask, and that is a really good point. But thinking about what questions she asked in this case, thinking about problems and having insights, tips, and strategies for doing an information interview, then I think our level is indicated maybe a little bit higher than beginning, at least. So,
All right.
Yeah.
We'll say all.
We'll say all, and Yeah, but my feeling for this one, being as they're pre-university ESL students, that it's probably intermediate to advanced in this case. All right, does it have a before, during, or post activity?
Does it have all three?
Does it have all three? In this case, we got through, yes, we did. I think we got through all three. Sometimes, as you're going through the different activities, you will find that a particular technology tool fits better for one of these three. So you may do the before in class, on paper, orally. You may do the during with the tool that you're using for the technology tool. And maybe the post activity, you're bringing it back into class again and doing it orally or synchronously in the class. And so I think this one uses all three, but depending on the tool, you may not use all three or be able to do all three with the tool itself. This one, in class, out of class, this one was definitely done in class because of the groups, the mix-up that she had, the jigsaw activity. I think you could do a jigsaw activity online. It would take a little bit longer, but the way she did this one, it was definitely in class. Feedback refers to the tool itself. And in this tool, we were using audio files. So was there any way to get feedback from the audio files themselves? No. It was not interactive. The students were not doing anything with that particular tool that would give them feedback. However, the way the activity was structured, I think they would get feedback from their group members. And you could look at it that way, but the tool itself is not doing it. Did we need to have a login, or did the tool collect responses? No, for either of these. We did not need to log in. They were just links on the internet. And the technology tool did not collect responses. We can make it bigger later.
Someone's suggesting us to enlarge the chart.
Oh, okay, down here. There you go, that's a little better. And ease of use of this particular tool. I'm going to say ease of use is not so great with this one. You have to know how to download an audio file. You have to know how to chop it up with Audacity. And you have to know where to put it up online for the students to be able to hear it. So ease of use is not so great with this one. And cost, totally free. This particular tool is not even a tool. Audacity is free. Putting it up online, if you've got a Google Drive, is free. So no cost to this one. So does that give you an idea of the things that we want you to look for as you're going through these activities? Any questions at this point about what we want you to do? I'm going to...
Looks like a lot of questions coming up.
Uh-oh. I'm going to stop sharing and go back to the wiki while we're waiting for questions.
Yeah, ease of use. Ease of use. Is it for teachers or students?
I would say either way. And actually, in this case, ease of use for students, it was pretty easy. All they had to do was click and listen. But ease of use for the teacher setup was more difficult. Good question. Yeah, I would consider both. Get our chat box back. For our use as teachers. Richmond, both, again. Both is used for teachers and for students.
Go back to the list.
Back is on this one.
So basically what we've done here, we've got these in section 4, we have models for you to test and evaluate. Take your pick. I mean, basically what we've done is we've given you links to activities that have been created. We indicate in parentheses what tools were used to create these activities, and ask you then in your groups or in your pods or individually to choose one of them and kind of try to fill out that that line that corresponds to that activity in the chart.
And a couple of notes. Hey, we're back on time. Oh, Catherine, I'm going to come back to you if you wanted to talk more about Socrative, but we're going to give you the next half hour to go through some of these. Don't all start at the top. Start in different places so that at your group, wherever you are in your face-to-face group, maybe you can cover all of them between you, amongst you, whichever preposition I need for that. Because then we'll be talking and have you discuss them afterwards. But I think, let's say we'll go until 4:30 our time, which would be 5:30 your time. So 25 minutes or so.
Right.
Okay. So looking,
Okay.
exploring these
As
and
far
using
as,
that grid
Sorry.
to do some evaluation after you've taken a look at the activity.
so I was just going to jump in and say what I'll do for the Socrative is I'm going to go in there and close the quiz that we were taking and open the second quiz. So if anybody wants to go back into Socrative and take a look at that, the second quiz will be up in just a second.
Okay.
So let's just go and have fun and play with a lot of these apps and technologies and fun things to do interpretive
And we'll
mode
just
work.
be monitoring the chat. So if you have questions or issues, just type them in the chat.
Yep.
Where's the thing on Socrative? Do you see it there?
I think go to the interpretive mode.
Where?
There, and you will
Here?
find, yes, okay. You will find it there. So far.
Oh, it's up there. Okay. And then it's here. Nope, that's me as a student. I want to finish that. And go to the dashboard. I'll do it that way. And then let's see. I'm going to start a quiz. And I'm going to start. This is the student name. I'll just start it. Okay, so they should be able to do that one. Is that what's being shown right now?
No.
Okay, hi folks, you still there? I hope you've been having fun with all of these. I know our crew here at Washington and Lee, we got into some of the really neat ones. So Marlene and Dan are going to talk to you some more about this. And have you guys got your sound
We're set.
back now?
Yep.
Yay, go for it.
All right. Being as you're all out there and we're just kind of here by ourselves, and the chat box isn't a really great way to discuss things, we'd like you to do the next thing in your face-to-face groups. And that would be to pull out this grid that you've been working on, the evaluation grid, and in your physical groups there, get together and kind of do a little bit of a debrief about the different activities that you looked at, the different tools that you were using, and give some opinions. Did you like them? Did you not like them? We're not going to say that they're all super wonderful examples. We won't guarantee that at all. And so we won't be hurt if you find things that are bad about them either. But take a look at them, see what you think the possibilities are, and then we'd like you to pick one or two of your favorites. And once you've decided that, put a note in the chat box. What did you think? Which one did you like particularly and why? So we'll give you maybe about 10 minutes to do some discussion in small group and come up with your favorite. Okay, we're coming back on live. We've started to get some opinions here. Jamestown and WVHS love Educanon. And so we've asked them to give us a couple of notes on why. Easy to use. You can use it for all levels. And the rest of you, if you've come up with your favorite, add in. Which one did you like and tell us why? Randolph-Macon College also likes, I'm assuming, Educanon. Yes, okay, good.
We got another participant showing up.
Well, it still says 21.
22 now.
Oh, yay, somebody came back. Okay, photo album was a neat activity. Cool. Using VoiceThread. VoiceThread is one of our big favorites. We're a big fan of video in chunks and can crop it. Yes.
That's the Educanon again.
That's the Educanon, all right. Southwest Virginia likes VoiceThread. Interactive, checking for understanding, easy to use and figure out. That was about the Educanon. The family photo and the TV guide. The TV guide is the Google Forms. We've found lots of things that we can do with Google Forms too. And it's nice because you can embed a video or a graphic right in your form and have students answer questions about it. Yep. Do you know if VoiceThread is free? You can still get, I think, 3 VoiceThreads in your account for free. They don't tell you that, but when you sign up for VoiceThread, you can. But check with your school system or your district because a lot of places now have site licenses for VoiceThread. It's very popular. So check and see. But yes, you can get 3 threads for free just by getting your account. They don't tell you that. Educanon seemed the most useful because you can insert questions and get responses, and it does track responses. Yep. Similar to Edpuzzle. The Google Forms, yes. Lynchburg, not sure which one you're saying you like too. Maybe Google Forms. Nice to know about VoiceThread. Yes, yes, yes. Students sign up and share their VoiceThreads. Yes, so then you get your 3 for free, but each of your students also gets 3 free ones. And so if you add them all together, then you get all sorts of ones that you can use in your class. Yep. We do now have a site license here at the University of Minnesota, and so it integrates right into Moodle that we use for online. And so it's used a lot, I think. But I know whenever I teach online classes, we always use VoiceThread for stuff and the Google Forms, both. Yes, the Choose Your Own Adventure. Wasn't that fun? That is something that a lot of people don't know about YouTube, is being able to add annotations to on top of a YouTube video, being able to add those links that you can click on top of a YouTube video. So there are a number of things that YouTube has been doing with their videos just themselves that will let you do a lot more interactivity with it. All right. Any other comments of your favorites and why? I'm going to add a comment here. I'm not sure if any of you got into Zaption, which is very similar just on the surface of what it looks like between Educanon and Zaption. But I think a lot of our teachers ended up liking Zaption better because it can do a wider variety of annotations.
You put images.
You can put images in, you can add websites, you can do a number of different things. And it does not need a login from your students, which makes it a lot easier. I don't know if I set mine up absolutely correctly, but usually when you come in, it'll ask you for a name, and if you have your students put their names in, it will track the information, but you don't have to have your students go through the whole issue of creating an account and signing up and figuring out where the class is and all that stuff. So we thought Zaption had a few more options, as well as being a little bit easier for students to get into and use.
Southwest Virginia area talked about Vokies, and that's right. It's not on the list because Vokies are primarily sort of production.
Although if the teacher creates a Vokie, it could be interpretive for students.
Could be interpretive, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you share our wiki site? Of course, it's public.
Yep, it's wide open. Go ahead, pass it around. And I've got a couple other comments coming in, looks like, so we'll wait just another minute and then we need to start doing some wrap up. Jamestown, you're absolutely welcome. And if you go actually to the front page of the wiki, it's the wiki that we use for our Carla Summer Institute on Technology, and there's a whole list of all kinds of technologies there. It will take you a year and a half to work through it all. It's all wide open.
What we do on the site as it's currently configured is during the Carla Summer Institute, we spend 1 day on interpretive, 1 day on interpersonal, and 1 day on presentational. So we have kind of the equivalent of what we have on this one wiki page here for each of the 3 modes of interpretation. So you're welcome to take a look at that.
Yep. Did you want to go on with a wrap-up question?
Is Catherine going to do something?
After you did that. Then she was going to
this
come
one?
back to the Socratic. Yep.
Okay. So the question that we have here is, now that you've played a little bit with technology, played a little bit with what's available online and what kinds of activities have been created to enable the interpretive mode. The question that we have just to think about and maybe to gather some responses on is, so what does technology add to the interpretive experience?
If you had no technology, you'd be doing it one way.
Right. How does using technology, or how do the resources that you've been looking at, how do they enhance the experience? How do they help focus, or do they? What's different about using technology than what we might do in a classroom with using a printed text?
All right, we've got answers coming in. Makes it relative to students mode. Yep, the way that they communicate today. Although we've been reading things about how students don't want teachers in Facebook.
Right.
That's their social area, and they don't want to do education in there.
Right. We have access to authentic materials. That's right. It's much easier nowadays through technology to get access to authentic materials.
Yep. Oh, good. To give students scaffolding to experience more native speaker texts. Absolutely. That's a great point. More
Yep.
engaging. Yep.
Authentic materials. Great. Current. That's an important thing too. I used to talk about how I would almost bring a second empty suitcase whenever I'd go to Germany, so I could bring back all this realia that we could use to mine for authentic texts, and I don't have to do that anymore. That's right.
Or we used to get the Mexico City papers 6 weeks after it was published
Right.
because they mailed it.
So more engaging, current material. Students who otherwise not be as motivated and need scaffolding.
Yep.
I mean, part of that, yeah, I think it's great to kind of reinforce their comprehension at whatever level they are.
And different modes.
Yeah.
Yep. Motivating, creating community. Yep. Connectivity outside of class. That's one of the things that I do like about technology, is it lets us go beyond that 50-minute time period and take things outside of class and keep the students interacting and working with the language outside of the class. And they talk about, the 3 minutes that each student gets to speak out of 50 minutes.
Right.
This gives lots more opportunity when we can pull it outside of class.
That's being generous, the 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, our idea here was to present to you some options that are out there. We clearly don't have enough time in the 2 hours that we had for you to experience everything, and that's one of the reasons that we have this site available to you anytime you want to come and take a look at it. If you find this chart helpful, this might be one way of kind of analyzing whenever you come across something that might be useful and usable to help your students understand, get more out of authentic materials and so on. Think about these kinds of questions when you're evaluating tools or activities or possibilities for using activities online.
Yep. All right, Catherine, if you wanted to do 2 minutes more on your, then.
Okay, can we get that? Can we get that shown? Okay, so I was just going to take a quick look at the Socrative and see how we did on it. I know not too many people took the second quiz, but it got put up there, and we'll just take a look at how we were doing. Sort of a post-viewing or post-interpretive mode session. We're trying to get it shared there. Okay, what's happened? Okay, there it is. So at any rate, the first question that we had was we should use more or less the same strategies for reading, listening, and viewing activities in interpretive mode. And yeah, we kind of do use the same ones. The second question was, which of these strategies do you already use in your classroom for interpretive activities? Giving simple, clear instructions, preparing pre-reading, reading together, engaging learners in post-reading. And I'm going to zip back to the table. And this is question 2. So, oh yeah, great. You guys are coming in there and answering now. Good. And the ones that are orange doesn't mean actually that they're wrong. It's you got to choose whatever it is you're using. So these are not right and wrong answers in the middle column. Alrighty, and then the third question was, let's see, do you have any questions for us? And looks like we weren't getting any questions. So can we go back to the main screen? Yeah. Well, I'll go back and take a look at the results table again, just real quickly. Oh, yeah. Okay. So,
Well, then I
guess that's about it.
Okay, I'm just going to go right back to the wiki just one last time. And here we are. The last section there under section 5, discussion, if you've still got the wiki page up, there is a workshop evaluation there that we'd like you to take a couple of minutes to fill out just as we finish up today. And thank you all for coming.
Okay, and so there's the evaluation there, and then Dick wanted me to remind everyone about the spring FLAVA conference. Remember, we usually have a fall FLAVA conference, but we're having one in the spring on the other side of the state, here where we are close to Lexington, and it's taking place Saturday, April 16th in Lexington, Virginia, on the Washington and Lee University campus. So if you are interested in partaking of that, please go to the FLAVA page at flavaweb.org and register. So thank you very much, and flavaweb.org, it's open to you. And wow, Marlene and Dan, thank you so very much for this. This was just great, and to share everything that you're doing with Carla. How, if people were interested in coming to the Carla workshop, what do they need to do to get enrolled this summer?
They need to go to the Carla website, which is carla.umn for University of Minnesota .edu. Put it up there. Oh.
Yeah, can we maybe take a look at that?
Is it a cost?
How do you mind if I ask how much it costs?
Whoops, well, I don't know where I'm going here.
Sorry about that.
Prices are listed in the registration form. So on the Carla webpage, the professional development section, Summer Institutes for Teachers. And here is our lineups for this summer. I want to say that for a week's worth of instruction, I think it's about $350.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Oh gosh, for a whole week?
For a whole week.
Whole week.
Monday through Friday,
Dang.
6 hours a day. And homework.
And it's beautiful Minnesota, so not too hot, not too cold.
Oh, Minnesota's a
10,000
good time
lake.
to visit in the summer.
And it's this summer it's July 11th through 15th, so it's
Right there.
right in the middle of the summer, so it's a great time to be here.
Excellent.
We should also mention that you don't necessarily have to be physically here because we will be streaming this as well.
Oh yeah, we're going to try doing what you guys are doing here and beaming out to remote people. You're a good model. We love this model of having the physical small groups out around your state. And I think, Catherine, you introduced that to me. It's just wonderful that you're doing this.
Well, we have to give the kudos to Dick. He's the one when we started talking about how we could kind of spread FLAVA a little bit further around and make sure that people who can't make it just once a year to a conference could still be a part of great teacher professional development.
Absolutely.
And so, yep, Dick has set this up, and then we started talking with you at Carla to see how we could, make that outreach reach even further out. So that's good.
Or reaching in, whichever way
Reach
you want to
in.
look at it.
Reach wherever. Yep.
Should I undo?
Okay. Can we get the flavaweb.org site up there? I click here. Okay, hang on just a second. You guys got to show yours, so I'm gonna.
Go right ahead.
Which one? Top one?
Awesome.
Middle one? Okay. And then I need to go to this. All right. So is that it? I'm a little bit challenged here because this is not my computer and I'm sick, and so I just wanted to put us into flavaweb.org for anybody who wants to come to the October 16th session that we're having at FLAVA. And it's, all right, so expanding the edges. I think you guys can see that. How come I can't pull that up? All right, so anybody who wants to come to the FLAVA Spring Conference, please come into our website and sign yourselves up and come see beautiful Lexington in April.
I've been there.
Okay.
Well, I think
So-
that's taken us right up to about 4 o'clock, so we should respect people's time and let you go.
Well, if it was just 4 o'clock, we'd just be starting here. Okay. Well, you have a wonderful time. Again, our deepest thanks from Virginia to Minnesota, from Washington and Lee to the University of Minnesota, from FLAVA to University of Minnesota and Carla. And thank you.
Thank you all for tuning in. This was really fun.
Good experience for us, too.
Great. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.